Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel and welcome back to this brief video update. This video update, which is close on the heels of President Trump's visit to China, we wanted to focus on as to why China is dominating so many industries and what is it that China is doing that is helping it dominate so many industries? What are the policies that China is putting in place? Let's do a deep dive. Let's try and understand what exactly is happening behind the scenes. So in 2016, there were 163 industries within China had more than half of global exports. Just 8 years later, that number today is 315. It's nearly doubled. And that includes the stuff that you expect, for example, electric vehicles, batteries, and solar panels. But it's also things that you never think about, like chemicals used in dry cleaning, or household appliances, or the components inside your washing machine. So the question is not whether China is dominating these industries, it's how and why it's still accelerating. Let's try and understand the scale of what's actually happening. Most people, when they hear about the Chinese industrial policy, picture the government picking a few flashy sectors, for example, EVs, AI, chips, and pouring money into those. That used to be roughly right. China's 5-year plan in 2021 listed 19 priority sectors, and the new plan from March of this year lists 24. For example, they added brain-computer interfaces, they added nuclear fusion. Fine, those are the headline grabbers. However, here's what's actually different now. China is also pushing hard on the unsexy stuff. The 2023 update to Made in China 2025 added household appliances and textiles. Textiles, a sector that everyone wrote off as boring decades ago. The Rhodium Group looked into the data and found something striking. Exports of one chemical used in dry cleaning are up 25 times since 2019. 25 times. Another industrial chemical is up 12 times. The point that we're trying to make out here is that China is not graduating industries out of state support once they get good. It's adding the industries to the list. Next, let's try and understand as to how money actually flows. How does the Chinese industrial policy actually work? Let's say Beijing decides that drones are strategic. Now here's what happens next and all at once. Firstly, the state banks open credit lines mostly at below market rates, so the drone makers borrow money cheaper than the competitors anywhere in the world. Secondly, the local governments compete to host the factories. They offer free land, tax holidays, cheap electricity, sometimes free workforce training. So your fixed costs collapse before you even sold a unit. Thirdly, the universities tilt their engineering programs towards that particular sector. The labor pipeline gets cheaper and bigger. Fourthly, and this is the clever one, local governments use special bonds to fund demand. So agricultural cooperatives get subsidies to buy drones, city governments deploy them, tourism boards, police. The state literally manufactures customers for the product before the global market is ready. Fifth, export credits and rebates push the product abroad once domestic scale is built. And lastly, the strategic state buyers like military, state-owned enterprises, and ministries become the anchor customers. So when you ask how can DJI sell drones at half the price of the Western competitors, it's not just one subsidy. It's a lot of things stacked together. And so the company can lose money for years while it builds dominance because nobody is asking it to report quarterly profits to the shareholders. Next, let's try and understand as to why it wins specific verticals. Why does this work so well with specific industries? There are particular reasons for the same. Firstly, it's patient capital. Chinese companies can lose money for years building strategic position, and that single difference is decisive in many cases. Secondly, there is vertical coordination. When Beijing picks EV, it's just not subsidizing EVs. It's also subsidizing lithium mining, battery cells, electric motors, charging infrastructure, automotive software, the chip foundries, the rare earth processing, all at once. So essentially, most of the inputs get cheaper at the same time. And lastly, the test bed to scale. China has 1.4 billion domestic customers, and it means that one can iterate, fail, and refine at home before exporting. For example, by the time the Chinese EVs land abroad, they've already gone through 5 generations of improvement at home. And as a result of all this, we have industries that were once dominated by Western competitors that are now wholly owned by the Chinese ones. For example, the solar panels were once German and American industries back in 2008. China holds roughly 80% of the global market today. DJI took around 70% of the global drone share inside a decade. The same playbook is now running on biopharma services, electrical equipment, mature chemicals, the boring stuff that we talked about in the beginning of the video. Now that's all that we have for you in this brief video update. Hope this video gave you a glimpse into why China is dominating so many industries and what's the policy behind it. We'll be doing more China-focused videos in future. Do stay tuned in for those episodes. And for those who like in-depth videos, do check out the videos that we've already done on China, Chinese industrial policy, China's currencies, and more. That's all for now. See you in the next episode.